Welcome everybody to KOLLEL Baruch A'Havat Israel in San Diego. We're here again with another share on Mishnayot Brachos, and we're starting on the 6th parak. Baruch Hashem, we made it so far. We only have 2 more, we have 7, 8, and 3 more parakim, 3 more chapters, and we'll be able to say Mazel Tov. I mean, every Mishnah you learn is a big deal, but we're moving along very nicely. Our big REFUAH SHELEMAH for Yitzchak and Ella, and made this shir be in schus and merit for my great grandfather David Getzel Halevi, and another REFUAH SHELEMAH for my grandfather. First was my great grandfather, my current grandfather, Leib Yehuda Halevi, and may we all enjoy this. Hopefully, bracha before we learn this, that we enjoy it. We enjoy the learning, and we understand it. And Baruch Hashem, it's going to be very simple today. It's not going to be, it's usually been pretty straightforward, but this is very, very good. So today, we've been speaking about Shema, Shemona Esrei. Now we're going to speak about something that is more prevalent, it's not more important, but it happens much more often in our day. And it's very, very good that we're going to learn a Mishnah now that finally speaks about it. If you've never learned Mishnayos and you always wanted to know where things are from, it's right here we find this very, very important halacha. And let us start. Ketza mavarchim al haperos. So what kind of bracha do we say on peros, on fruits? We're going to go through all the list. We're going to go, fruits and vegetables, and we're going to finally get clarity in where it's from. Ala peros ha'ilon aimer bari pri ha'etz. So on fruits of the tree, we say bari pri ha'etz. We say ha'etz. We say for the one who creates the fruit of the tree. It's interesting. It says bar pe'etz. It says al peros ha'ilon, which is peros of the tree, and we'll see it connects a little bit. But the way that it says it, peros of the tree, fruits of the tree, as opposed to the next one. Okay, so chutz min hayayin shal hayayin oimer bar pri hagafen. So you would think that a drink that's crushed, that's a grape, which is ha'etz, in its essence, that's a bracha that you make on it because it's a fruit of the tree, really a grapevine, but it could be, I guess, described as more of a tree, of a bush, and a bush maybe more like a tree. But if it's wine, you don't say ha'etz on the drink, you say hagafen. Al peros haaretz oimer. So this is what I wanted to point out. The way that it says it is that in the beginning it says al peros ha'ilon, on the fruits of the tree. Now it says al peros haaretz, of the fruits of the ground, which is interesting because why would it be called a fruit of the ground? So we're going to answer with halacha that has to do with this. Boyer pi adama. So with vegetables, you say boyer pi adama, the one who creates the fruit of the ground. Chutz min hapas, except for bread. She'al hapas hu aimer hamoitzi lechem min haaretz. So when we come to bread, even though it's wheat and it comes from the ground and it's something you would think you would say a hadama on, rather it's a staple of life. It's something we wash our hands for. We have a whole benching for. It's really something that really satiates us. So therefore it's hamoitzi lechem min haaretz, who brings out bread from the earth. Val hayirakois aimer bari pi adama. So this is a different opinion as to what there's different opinions. Some people say that anything that comes from the ground, that's a vegetable, is hadama. But there is over here in the Mishnah that has specifics. Well, if it's a stalk, it's whose stalks or leaves are eaten, like lettuce or cabbage. But we say Bari Pri Adama, but they make a distinction of like Hayarakos, meaning if it's something that's on greens, like it's stuff that's green, or like the vegetables, the stalks or leaves are eaten. Rabbi Yehuda Aimer Bari Mine Deshaim. Rabbi Yehuda says that we say who creates types of grasses. So on these greens, Va'al Hayirakos, Rabbi Yehuda says we say Bari Mine Deshaim, which is very interesting because basically he makes a distinction. He says that there's different types of things that grow on the ground. It's not just a blanket rule. But the first opinion says, well, yeah, I mean, if it comes from the ground, if it's Perus Ha'aretz, then it's Bari Pri Adama. Barich ala Perus Ha'ilon, Bari Pri Adama. So now we're going to speak about if you by accident say a different bracha on, say, an apple, you say Hadama. What's the case? Barich ala Perus Ha'ilon, Bari Pri Adama, Getzel. So if you say on a apple, Bari Pri Adama, by accident, you're still able to take a bite out of it, and you wouldn't have to repeat the bracha because of the very essence of the bracha. What's the bracha? Is that the hadama is the ground. So technically speaking, anything that grows on a tree is really from the ground. In essence, yes, it comes from a branch, or it grows. It's different, but where are the roots? Where does it really come from? So where it really comes from is the ground. So if you say ha'etz, something that needs to be ha'etz, an orange, an apple, pear, or whatever, and you by accident said hadama, it's fine. So what if it's the opposite? What if you take a cabbage, you take a pepper, you take a cucumber, and you say ha'etz on that? So there, it's not, because that's specific to the Elon. Bari Pri ha'etz. The eitz is for a tree. Eitz is a tree. So a tree is not, when you say Bari Pri ha'etz, you're being specific in your bracha and saying, Hashem for the tree, the fruit that's on the tree. However, a cucumber that doesn't come from the tree. If the bracha of Bari Pri ha'etz was a little bit more inclusive and it included, Bari Pri ha'etz ve'adama, but you can't combine brachas like that. But if it was more inclusive, then it would be fine. But so basically, we learned that you say ha'etz on something that comes from an elon tree. You say adama from things that come from the ground, except for wine, which is Bari Pri hagafen, and for pas, bread, which is hamotzi lachem min haaretz. And as well, we learned that if you by accident say ha'etz, if you have accident say hadama on something that's ha'etz, because of the hadama, if it comes from the word translated as ground, therefore anything that's on a tree, it's still considered the ground. It still came from the ground, therefore it's fine, and you don't have to say another bracha. But on the opposite end, if you say ha'etz on something that's hadama, then it's not fine, because you say ha'etz, you say the word etz was a tree, and it did not come from a tree, it came from the ground. Alright? Al kulam ir amar sha'akol niyeh yotza. So if you by accident said something else, you said shahakol niyeh bidvaro on an apple, on a orange, on a cucumber, on a cabbage, on a broccoli, on a cauliflower, if you said shahakol niyeh bidvaro, then it's fine, because this includes the literal translate, everything came to be. So we're talking about everything in general. So when you say shahakol, it's famous. Shahakol is famous for drinks, water, soda. But however, if you made an accident and you said shahakol on a fruit or vegetable, it's fine. Al davar she'en gedula min haaretz omer shahakol. So now we have a rule about shahakol. We spoke about shahakol, and now we have a rule about shahakol. We're on Gimel. We're on the third Mishnah now. We just started just a reminder, we're on the 6th parak, if anybody wants to catch up from here. Shahakol is anything that doesn't come from ha'aretz. Gedula means it doesn't grow from the ground. You say shahako. Ala chaimetz v'ala novlois v'ala goivai aimer shahako. On vinegar, on unripe fruit, and on locusts. Now locusts, kind of is seemingly not kosher, but there are some Ashkenazi Jews don't hold of this, but there are some Yemenite Jews or Sephardi Jews that have a tradition that locusts are kosher. So in those cases, on vinegar, on unripe fruits that fell off before it was done ripening, those you also should shahako. I guess from the unripe fruit you would think, okay, maybe it's a eitz, but it wasn't ready. So it's also all these things are also seen as unfit, not unedible, but they're unfit for eating. So we're going to see ala chalev, ala gavina, ala beitzim, on milk, on cheese, on eggs. All these things don't come from the ground. Another one I'll add in here, it doesn't say in here, but on chicken, on meat, those things are not, that don't come from the ground. Omer shahako, all these things you say shahako. Rabbi Yehuda Omer kol shehu min haklala ein mavarchen Allah. So Rabbi Yehuda goes back and says, wait, we spoke about chometz, nevalos, and gavai, unripe fruit and locusts. According to Rabbi Yehuda, these things do not require a bracha because they're not fit for eating. So again, let's just recap a little bit. Things that come from the ground, things that come from a tree, ha'etz. Things that come from the ground, ha'dama. Things except for wine, which is borei pri ha'gafen, because wine is a specialty. Wine has it's a special drink. If you take a cup of water, you're not going to say, a bracha achrona is much different. The after blessing, and then pas bread from the ground. Even though it's from the ground, he say hamoitzi lechem min haaretz because it's a staple. It's satiated, something that's very special. And you also say the brachas hamazon after blessings for eating. Then we spoke about that all things fall under the category of shahakol ne'abidvaro. If you by accident said shahakol on an apple, if you by accident said shahakol, if you by accident said hadama on a ha'etz, ground, something that came from the ground, that's on a tree. That if you said a hadama on a apple, then it's fine. But if you said a ha'etz on a cucumber, then it's not fine. And Rabbi Yehuda, and so over here, anything, so milk, cheese, meat, eggs, those are all shahakol because ein gedula min haaretz, it doesn't grow from the ground. But there's a machlokas here, there's a disagreement that on things that are unedible in a way, not unedible, but unfit for like proper eating, Rabbi Yehuda says you don't need to say a bracha for these things. There's no bracha for them. And then the first opinion says yes, you do. You say shahakol. And the final mishnah we're going to do today is a very cool one, and this one is could be a little bit difficult sometimes when you don't know which one comes first. But let's say you have we spoke about so many different fruits and vegetables. Now let's say they're all on your plate. You have apples and oranges and you just really made yourself a healthy mixture of stuff. And you even have some eggs and some cheese and obviously not meat and cheese, but you have different you have a whole bunch of stuff. Now there's a different halacha about if that stuff is mixed together, what then? There's something called ikar v'toifa, where what's the main ingredient versus the one that's not as prevalent, which is not as major. So that's different. But here is a picture of full fruits and vegetables. You got a full cucumber, a full orange, and you want to know what bracha to make first. What should you do? What takes more importance? Hayu lefanov minim harbe. So in front of you, you have a lot of different species of stuff. Rabbi Yehuda says, Im yesh b'neihem min shiva mavarich alav. So the shiva minim, figs, pomegranates, grapes. There's 7 special fruits that are in Eretz Yisrael, you take Meiser and different stuff. Over here, it's in America, it's much different. But basically, there's 7 different fruits. There's 7 different fruits that a person that are special and that need to be seen as different. They're seen as different. They're I don't know exactly how to explain it, but you have a different bracha achrona, different after blessing. There's a standard after blessing. If you take like a cup of water, you gulp down a full cup of water. You say just a smaller after blessing. But these 7 species, these 7 different fruits, the fig and the date and the pomegranate, and I don't recall all of them. I think barley's in there, but these 7 different species, they're special. So because they're special. So say again. So now you're looking at your plate. You have an apple and a pomegranate. So according to Rabbi Yehuda, because that pomegranate is more important, and in the Chumash it speaks about these 7 different species, but because it's seen as more like greater in its I wouldn't say greater, but I guess they're praised in the Chumash. Okay, we go wheat, barley, grapes, figs, pomegranates, olives, and dates. An olive from Eretz Yisrael, delicious, and dates from Eretz, is really delicious if you ever had them. They're really great. But these 7, one says Rabbi Yehuda, those come first. So you have a pomegranate versus an orange. You take the pomegranate and you make a bracha on it, and then the orange. So say the Chachamim, no, it goes according to what you want more. If you're more of a orange person over a pomegranate person, so you take the orange and you make the bracha first. So it's very interesting, 2 different thought processes of what you should say first, bracha on the brachas in front of you. Obviously, if you have 2 eights on, you got an apple and orange, it doesn't matter. Over here, it doesn't answer. I guess this answers really also for say you have an apple versus a vegetable. I guess if you would want more the vegetable, yeah. Well, I mean that's for. I mean, I think we're going to go more into detail about this. But as for now, this is the discussion: is that if you have the 7 minim, the 7 species in front of you, those go first according to Yehuda. But according to Chachamim, whichever one you want first, you like this one more usually. You tend to eat that more than that. Then you would pick those. Okay, so I'd like to thank everybody for listening. We're halfway done with the 6th parak, and we're going to be going on eventually to the 7th and 8th and 9th. And the next time I'll probably be giving a class, whatever, share, just learning with you guys, is after Tisha B'Av. And Tisha B'Av is, I'll be honest, I've been struggling a lot lately with trying to connect to what it means, because it's really far from us. It's like this concept of a Beis HaMikdash, this concept of losing a Beis HaMikdash. It's very far from me, at least. And I'm really just, it's hard, I'm sad. I do get sad, but only because there's so much pain in the world. But the biggest thing about Tisha B'Av is really the Beis HaMikdash, and it's something that my Rebbe said. He spoke to me. We spoke about it once. Is that it's not that we lost the Beis HaMikdash, but we lost the Shekhinah, the godly presence in the world. The godly presence was much less. People would have more. There was more nevuah, more prophecy. There was more. It was a world, a different world when the Beis HaMikdash was standing, and for us to really connect to, if we're able to really connect to what it means to have a Beis HaMikdash and have godly, it's Hashem's house, Hashem's personal sanctuary, and when we lost it, and we there's nothing we could do about it. We just sat by and just had to see it get destroyed because we weren't behaving well enough. We weren't being the proper Jews that we need to be. the people who care about each other no matter what, care about each other because we are Jews and that's it. The sinas chinam. There was baseless hatred amongst us. You know, somebody didn't like somebody because he dressed a certain way. You know, he acted a certain way, and that's never a reason to not like anyone. And let's hope that we can fix that. We can fix the baseless hatred, bring back the temple. All right, have a great one and easy fast, and make sure to go to nesatorah.org, send around the share, and look up the share, and learn, and then really have an easy fast.